Welcome everybody, my name is Alessandro Vecchio, and now we're going to have a demo about our solution for sales commission area. Well, I'm going to give you a quick view of the main functionality of this app. There are more collateral, let's say, this feature, but they are more specific with the finance needs. So maybe the best thing is to give the core, the main functionality overview, and then you can, if you want to ask me something, and see if it's the right app for you. Let's start saying that as all EOS extension or app, as you want, they are classified with an acronym. In this case is CMS. So typing this, you can have a quick view of all the voices, setup or report, what else page that regards this application. We're gonna go through the setup later. Now I just want to give you a typical scenario when I start with a customer. In this customer, I have in the card additional fields in a specific new group, which is called commission, obviously. I can specify a commission group, which is just a code description table, where I can classificate or group my customer with anything I want, any criteria I want. And then there is a sales network. Sales network means that I cannot assign salesperson one by one to a customer or order, but a sales network is a group, a predefined group of salesperson. The use of sales networks, it's an option. You can enable or disable it in the general setup of commission. It just depends on how your customer is. How your customer wants to work. We added this feature because we noticed that, in particular for big customer, it was very useful because you just have to set up once the sales network. In this case, it's like North, like a North area, and then my sales network, it's always the same, composed by my 3 salesperson. When I assign a sales network to a customer, these 3 salespersons are automatically related to the customer, and I don't have a choice to modify this structure. Otherwise, you can decide to avoid using sales network. Then you will be able to add specific salesperson to every customer you want. You can add, delete, and then do what you want because you have a free salesperson list related to a customer. In this demo, if it's not a problem, I'm going to use sales network, but keep in mind that it's just an additional feature. You can work with the specific salesperson. Once I have my customer with the commission data field, I can create a new invoice. Sales invoice. Okay, as I type in the customer number, you can notice that I have the same field with the same name, commission group, on the document, which can be a create memo. In this case, it's an invoice or an order. And also the sales network with the related salesperson has been transferred.
Alessandro?
Yeah.
Do we also have the same possibilities on the sales order already?
Yes.
Okay.
Sales order, return order, and
Okay.
invoice and credit memo.
Okay. Okay, great.
So this is just a default that comes from the customer. If you need, you can, for each new order, decide to change the customer group or the sales network. Changing the sales network, salesperson will be updated with the new sales network. As you see, you can decide to exclude all the document from commission calculation for any reason. And then if you go on the lines, we just insert 2 line for example, 1 and 2. One with a discount because this is useful for a specific functionality I will show you later. As you can see, on every single line, we have the customer group code, which comes from the header, and then the commission group code that is related to the specific line, because as for the customer, also in the item, I can specify a commission group code. So I can group my all items with as many different group code as I want, as many criteria as I want. And then this value is transferred on the line. As for the header, you can change it. The same flag exclude from commission, it's available also by single line. Once you have completed the document insert, you have 2 actions. Salesperson, there is just a list of salesperson involved in this document. And finally, we can go on with the show commission page. We can see how the system has calculated the commission from our two lines. As you request before, commissions in the solution are by line. So you can navigate from the header, and then we'll have a summary of commission for all the lines involved in the document, or the same 2 buttons are at line level, salesperson and commission. In this case, we're going to see just the commission related to the specific line. Sorry, the specific line you select. Let's come back to the summary view by header. We can say that we had 2 invoice line with 3 salesperson each. So we have a total of 6 commission line calculated. What is interesting to see in this line is that we have some data that's just the information data that comes from the document. We have a commission percentage that comes from a specific setup we're gonna get through later. We have the commission amount that comes from the application of this percentage, and then a fixed amount, which in this case is 0 because at setup I didn't set up any fixed amount commission, and then a total, which is the sum of this that comes from the percentage and the fix if exists.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do on this line before posting the document is to modify commission percentage for any reason you need to, or the amount as the same way. The line is now in bold, just to notice that has been modified, like this flag says. And then you have 2 similar functionality which are recalculate line or reset line that allows you to come back to the initial situation with the reset. Recalculate is similar, but checks the actual setup and recalculate the values from the actual setup. Mm-hmm. If you change the setup during time, order or invoice that has been made with the previous setup will keep this the value calculated at that time. but if you force a recalculation, the system will check the criteria with the actual setup. Another interesting thing that, in my opinion, is very useful is that specifically if I have a very long calculation setup with many lines, if I want to check where this 1% came from, I can open setup. I have my grid, let's say this, of a calculation setup. Now we go through this grid, and the line selected is the one from which came my calculation of the document, my 1%. This is just to be sure, maybe especially when you use this app for the first time, you want to check that 1% was the right percentage. And if you have 100 lines of setup, difficult. Using this feature, you just in a second you know what's the line setup that gave you this calculation. In this case, for item 1000, if you remember, we insert a discount of 15%, and our percentage is 2.5. What I'm going to show you is an additional possibility you have with this app is that you can specify a fixed commission percentage or decide to give a commission percentage depending on line discount parameter. This line discount is the parameter that comes already managed in this app. You can, with customizing with the events and so on, decide to add another criteria. We have a second level setup where we can say that from 0% percentage of discount we give 3%, but if my salesperson sells with 10 or more % of discount, the commission percentage will be decreased to 2.5. You can decide with this calculation grid, let's say this calculation setup, you can define as many you want, and then specify different criteria. We have mainly three area, let's say this, of criteria. The salesperson, the criteria that are related to salesperson, so sales network, role. We're gonna see later that we can specify salesperson roles in this app, and salesperson filter, which is the most detailed criteria. Then you have another area. Let's say this is customer area. You can specify customer filter, which works with a specific customer, or using a filter like this, if you want. And the commission filter, that was the field we saw before. And then the third area is the product, so the item or the fixed text or charge item.
And there with item we can use, for example, all the items with item number 1
you can specify
until 5 or something.
For example, if you want, you can leave these fields not filled if you just want to give your percentage depending on the item. And let's say that for a specific item. Okay, just a second. For example, this product is not needed because you specified one item, so it will be useless. It's in all line. There's a starting day. Okay, that's standard, and then you can say 5%. Here you go.
Okay. And we could also do like this item number and then make the yeah, through the operators, we can add more. And I mean, like we can make the dot to define a range of items, or the
it works
the operators
like this.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Okay, it's all in the key, so it asks to rename. My advice, my suggestion is to do not use too many filter lines because a performance issue. It depends obviously on how many lines of setup you have, but if you have many lines of setup and that line has filters, system will be slower in calculating commission. But it depends on your needs.
So on this screen, you do all the setup for the customer specific commissions, but also for the non-customer specific commissions. So it's one page for all the different scenarios.
In this page, there are all the commission calculation setup. You can use this explicit filter just to that helps you to operate on a specific role or salesperson or sales network and so on. But it's all in one table. This table has an automatic calculated fields, which is the priority, because just one of calculation setup record is used to calculate the percentage, to calculate the commission. I mean, we can have a line that matches one or more setup line. For example, in our case, we have this situation: primary EV, additional BM, supervisor FC. We can say that in this case we have a line that is for specific salesperson AV, but AV is also primary. So also this line could match with our document line. In this case, is used the priority, and because salesperson filter is a more detailed filter as a role filter, is used the salesperson filter. But only one setup line is used to calculate the commission. These two lines that matches our document line are not, let me say, summarized to give a commission that is 2 plus 2.5%. That was our threshold. What you can decide, depending on your needs, we're going to see later, is to give a different priority from to salesperson criteria, customer criteria, and product criteria. All this data are analyzed by the system that gives for every line a specific priority, which is just to let you understand this field, which normally is not exposed, and if you have two line that match, is use the one with the major priority. In this case, this one. I came back to our document. Okay, I think that we can check here the user checks if it's everything okay and the commission, and then we can post our document. As it was in the temporary document, all data are as standard transferred to the posted one. We have commission group, sales area, and so on. If we go to show commission, now we have the same data we had before with the percentage, but this is already the commission ledger entry table. I mean, these are posted data because we did a posting Here I still have the possibility, if we are not in settlement phase, let's say this, to modify manually all my commissions. And I have, as before, possibility to recalculate one or more lines at time. From here, we can open the document, open the setup as before, and then we have occurrences and details. This is because we decide to give to commission a structure that is similar to the customer ledger entry and detailed customer ledger entry. I'm gonna use a different example where with a posted invoice where I already paid a part of this document. So in the global list of commission entry, I'm gonna
So here you can see all the commissions that were
this is the same. This is the same page we opened from the single posted invoice. It's just filtered by your document, but you can also go through to this global list page. We have this document that is very similar to the one we posted yet, with the same. It's just different customer. We are here just to let you see that in this case, we have 3 different, one for every salesperson, type of settlement calculation, which are invoice. Invoice means that as I post the document, my salesperson can have his commissions paid. Okay, they are payable. Let's say this. So, in fact, we have this value that is cashed, totally cashed, and the payable. So it's the value you can settle is the total value. Another example is paid partially. That means that if my invoice is paid by the 50%, like in this case, we have this total commission, and the commission will be payable in a partially way, so it's more or less an half total commission. And the other one is paid by document. That means that even if I paid the 15% of the document, I cannot pay or settle any commission to my salesperson till the whole document is paid. You can say in this case that even if it's cashed, the payable amount is 0. This is
so there you have different options on when you can pay.
On the salesperson page.
It's a bit security, or it
says people. For every salesperson, you can specify in a new group commission, the rated vendor, and some additional data, the settlement period, quarter, a year, and so on. And this is the field we were just looking at. It's paid by document, and so on. You also have to specify the GL accounts that will be used later during the settlement.
So the vendor, you link the vendor because you pay the vendor the commission. So everyone that you want to pay commission to needs to be a vendor in Business Central then.
Yes, because at the end we will generate a new purchase invoice that needs to be needs to have a vendor. So okay.
And so for
yeah.
So if you would is there a difference for you if you would use the application to pay or grant commissions to the internal employees or to the external partners, third parties? Or would you approach it in the same way and just link the correct vendor to the sales or salesperson?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
Okay, so you just link the correct vendor, and then
then during when we will generate the purchase invoice, we will use the vendor at the setup specified in the setup in the card, salesperson card. And from the commission entry, as I was said, we use a structure like the customer ledger entry. We have occurrences, mm-hmm. which are the same level as customer ledger entry, mm-hmm. and details. Let's use this one, for example. Details are the same detail as detailed customer ledger entry. This is very useful because when you, for example, when you pay an invoice with totally or not, a new record will be created here, and then you know that you paid, for example, with this payment, you paid 49%, and then with the other one, another €1,000. Mm-hmm. And from this comes this commission amount. Once you have your commission data post, you can go to the following step. But if you need, you have also the possibility to manually, I mean, without having a document behind, manually generate a commission. And you can do this with a journal, mm-hmm. which is very similar to standard journal line, just to be easier for the users. Mm-hmm. For example, we can put in document number, let's say test 1. We need to insert a commission reason code. We're gonna see later this setup, but we can specify as many reason code as we want, just to group, for example, manual commission or line created for a prepayment, like advance, and so on, as you need for your customer. In this example, we can say manual to FC, for example, mm-hmm. and then 2000. Another mandatory data is the commission period, which is another table that you need to fill in the setup at the beginning. And it's just, in our case, in this demo, we use a quarter. So it's mm-hmm. just our 4th quarter for this year. And then I can post this.
This is for when we don't need a purchase.
Yeah, this is when you want to give something to the salesperson without having a related document. Mm-hmm. An example could be an advance. I don't know, an advance or prepayment. I don't know how to mm-hmm. say, but if I need to give, for example, €200 before the settlement process can be completed, for example, for the expenses of the salesperson, I can do this with this functionality.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just put in another example with a different reason code. Okay. As you can create a commission with a batch, with a journal, mm-hmm. you can also, if you need, settle commission with a journal. I think this is less used because It's like particular cases where you don't want to do a purchase invoice, but if you need, you can use this journal, for example, specifying a period, and then it's not manually updatable, but you have a wizard, let's say this, that says that you can manually settle all these lines, which are all the lines that came from document or from journal, as the last two that are the one we
this is to apply the payment to the documents.
You apply the payment to this commission, and then the commission will be closed or partially paid without creating a document and so on.
But you need to do it through this journal, or can you also do it through the ledger entries?
You can do this. You can settle with this journal, or the right way, let's say this, or the most used way is using commission prospect and the purchase standard purchase document. I'm gonna show you now. Commission prospect are just let's say stage level between commission ledger entries and purchase invoice. All commission that comes from documents must have a settlement prospect to be settled. Otherwise, in the reason code, you can specify which reason code should be considered in the settlement, or for which reason code you can directly, without using a prospect, create the related purchase invoice. In our case, that's why I posted two different lines. If with this prepay, this reason code allows you to create directly the purchase invoice starting from the commission entry. That's why I need to insert these two fields to let the system know how to create the purchase line. Create prospect. It's a report where you can set your filter you need. Has created two different prospects. Here we are. One was just was already posted in my environment. Our two new prospects are this in the second quarter. We have a prospect for BM. BM, if you remember, is the one who had paid the document as settlement type. So because we didn't pay the whole document, it will have no commission coming from our sales invoice, but we have a manual commission that will be inserted. In this case, it's posted by me before the demo with the reason code manual. As you can see, in this prospect, we have header data, which are mainly the vendor data. The link to the temporary document type, which means the temporary purchase invoice, and then the posted one. Now we'll create a document. And here in the lines, we have the system analyze all the settable commission ledger entry, and we will have a line for commission that comes from document, and then one line for every reason code that the system finds in this data set of commission ledger entry. Maybe in this example, okay, yeah. In this case, we have one line. This is related to our reason code manual, one line related to this period. That means that came from document. Why we have two lines and not one? Because the dimension set it is different. So the system has split into different lines because we need to have two different lines that will be two different purchase invoice line because dimension set are different. If I need to check, I can have a list of customer ledger entry involved that will be settled with this commission prospect. We have all the detailed data. You see that this is the one posted by us before. And with this, give the 300 amount of the manual line. Once I've checked my prospect, it's important to say that the prospect can be one for period for each salesperson. I mean, I generate my prospect when I'm sure that for my salesperson, no other sales invoice will be paid and so on. So my data are fixed. And then at the end of the month or the beginning of the following month, I mean, depending on my settlement period, I will create a prospect, and I can have for my salesperson just one prospect for each period. What is not settled with this prospect for the second quarter, in this case, will be considered in the following settlement process in the next period. So I cannot have more than one prospect for period and salesperson. From this, the next step is to release the prospect as standard, just to say that it's confirmed, and then create a purchase document. Here is our purchase document. This is exactly as the prospect. And then from here, it's like a standard business center process. So I complete this invoice, and then I can post this invoice. When I create a invoice from a prospect, that number is filled in my prospect just to let the system know that this prospect has that invoice related to him. In the example it was already in the database, you can say that I also posted the invoice, and we have the purchase, the posted purchase document related to my prospect. If I don't want to use this feature of the prospect for a specific reason code, as we saw before for prepayment, I can create directly purchase invoice with this. It's similar to the previous one. It will just consider the purchase, the commission entry that has a reason code with the flag create purchase invoice enabled. One purchase document was created. Purchase invoice. And this is our prepay. It's the one are all the commission entry related to the reason code prepaid. Then from here I can post my purchase invoice, and the system will transfer the amount in the commission ledger entry we have 3 steps. Let's say this. The first is when a document is paid or the settlement type is invoiced, I have a payable amount. That means I can proceed to the step 2. For this amount, I can do a prospect or a temporary invoice, and this is settlement amount. When I post, we go into the third step. When I post the purchase invoice, and we have settled amount, like in this case. Remaining amounts is just a calculation from the total commission amount and what can be paid. And that's the main cycle of the commission. As I said before, we have many setups, starting from the general setup, where you insert data like specific number of series, or if you want to retrieve salesperson from the bill to customer or sell to customer, and so on.
So I have a question about, the salesperson in this scenario means, who will get the commission? We can link the one or more salespersons to a customer.
To a vendor.
Vendor. Okay, but is it also possible to choose the salesperson on the moment of the order instead of linking it before?
Yeah.
If we have a case when we have a document where sometimes there is commission and sometimes not, we can exclude. We can use the exclude, but can we also choose? Okay.
Yeah, depending on if you want to use sales network or not. If you use sales network, you will be able just to change sales network on the order, but not the salesperson related to that sales network. But if you disable this,
then you can do it, yes. And when do you need the sales networks? When you need more salespersons, or can you also do it without the network?
You can use more than one salesperson also without sales network. Sales network is just useful in case of you have the same structure of salesperson for the 19% of orders. Let's say.
Yes. Okay.
So if you know that all the orders that are managed in the north area are always handled by these 3 salesperson, you can use a sales network. If your structures is, let me say, fixed. If you need to be more flexible, you just disable sales network. And then, just a moment, okay.
Yeah, so sales network is indeed if you have a lot of the same commission agents, internal or external, for a lot of
scenario are not not many various scenario, you can use this network because it helps the user to be sure that the list of salesperson is fixed. He just has to check that is not salesperson and it's okay. But in this case, we disable sales network. Sorry, as you can see, the field is no more visible. We have a blank document. We can go in commission, salesperson. Sorry. Okay, it's just a refresh. Maybe this customer had to default salesperson, but you can, because of we don't have sales network, you can, for example, go here and then say I had a supervisor that is FC, or delete this primary. Okay, now you change the salesperson structure, and then when you insert a line, salesperson are retrieved from the header, but you can go here and say that here for only this line you have this. In this case, header will still have just to salesperson, and new line will have two salesperson, but I manually add one salesperson on my first line. This
so
is
you can choose per line.
Yeah, you can specify a default on the customer if it can be useful, and then you can modify a salesperson on document header, and if you need, also for every line.
Okay.
I just show you some of the setup you have in this app. This is quite important because you specify a primary salesperson code. That means that you can keep the standard salesperson field updated. Because you know that by standard it's just one salesperson code for a document, and that field is posted through commission ledger entry, customer ledger entry, and so on. Here you can choose the role that will represent the standard, represent the salesperson that will be used in the standard field of the document. In order to have the standard field updated in a right way. This is very important. This is a calculation group. As I was saying before, you can specify, this is the default priority. So salesperson as salesperson area criteria, let's say this, have that best priority. It's the maximum priority, and then we check customer area criteria and then the product criteria. If you want, if in your example product is more significant in the calculation setup criteria, you can just change this selection. Reason code, we have, you can specify default reason code for example prepayment, and so there are other things, but are more detailed. I mean, this in first demo, I think it's not so important. As I was saying, you can specify roles. This is just code description table, additional salesperson, primary, and so on. And you have mission period that are the base that use the prospect used to do the settlement. So you need to fill this table. You don't have to do that manually, but you have a report where you can say the starting date and then the type, for example, month. So the number of period by default is 12, starting from here. And then the system will generate all your periods that will be used in the settlement process.
These periods are also more for reporting, maybe to filter on in the entries to see, for example, all the commissions for a certain month. Or
are used in all the for settlement, and as we saw before, if you post manually a commission, you need to specify in which period will be considered. So it's just to have a code that represents a fixed period and not always need to input a filter date.
And so, for settlement as well, but what happens if you have commission period in October? What happens if you have commission period October, but you have a transaction in October and you have the payment in November? You need to filter on the period. You won't see both transactions, or I see it wrong.
I think that the amount is calculated using the what can I say, using the posting date in the specific detailed customer ledger entry. So it will be considered what is paid at that moment.
Okay.
But normally, this process of settlement is made when you finish to post payments related to previous period sales invoice and so on. As I said, because of you can create just one prospect for every salesperson. That means that it's our suggestion is to do the settlement operation by using a prospect where when you know that everything has been paid, you don't have a situation that changes day by day. That's how our customer use it.
Okay.
And then we have the calculation setup. We already saw it, and the sales network. Just in order to know, in this case it's disabled because we have the general setup disabled. But just come back here. Okay, for every maybe it didn't get this. I need to close. Okay, for every sales network, you have a list of customer which has this sales network by default, and mainly you can set up the salesperson list that are related to the sales network if you use it. Otherwise, you are free to change a salesperson on document and so on. Last, I show you an example of a report, a printable report we have. Okay, this is our report that summarize commission ledger entry status. So you have for every salesperson the main let's say the most important data of the salesperson, settlement type and so on, and then for every document the detail of the commission amount and what is settled, and this for commission from documents, and then if you have commission with a specific reason code, a separated section with the reason code manual and reason code prepaid and so on.
Well, we could also export the commission entries to Excel with
okay. I think you can do this with a native functionality because it's the commission entry. It's a plain list. So, oops, sorry. I think you won't have problem using this. That was just because some customer ask for a printable report to send by as PDF, for example, to the salesperson. So otherwise, you can use Excel. It is more useful. That's all for our today's demo. Thank you very much for your time, and have a nice day. Bye.